Hello, this is Tom Carhill. It's Wednesday, the 17th of April, 2018. Happy New Year, everybody. I haven't done a video in probably about 6 or 7 months, but yeah, there's some interesting developments have come to light since the last time I have had the chance to get online. Yeah, it appears that the singer, Brian Harvey, has been targeted by Puddick. And there's two reasons for this, but one of the reasons is not so clear. The first reason appears to be something related to him being a kind of enemy of the state from like way back, because you know when they set him up and started saying that he was endorsing drug taking, when in fact one of his band members had actually said something more endorsing of drug taking. And then they just chose to say that he'd done it and didn't mention the other one. So like, clearly there's something odd going on from like quite a long time back. They were targeting him, and you know he's been maliciously prosecuted things, crimes that didn't even happen and things like that. So like he has been a target anyway. But it seems that, say maybe 3 or 4 years ago, when he actually contacted Bill Baloney, right? Bill Baloney now is completely off the scene ever since I've, kind of exposed him. Because just like with Brian Gerrish, a lot of people thought he was okay, or sorry, they realised he wasn't okay, but they didn't do anything about it, so they just don't talk to them. But the thing is, this is completely negligent, because if you know someone's complete fucking bad news, and then you just let other people go and get fucked about by them, like in some cases, like really massively fucked about by them, you know, and they go to prison and stuff. That, in my mind, that's just completely unacceptable. If someone does something wrong, you should let everybody know, so that then, you know, if it's something that's harmful to somebody, unless the person deserves to be harmed, you've got to tell everyone so they will know. But anyway, the issue with this Puddick at the minute is that they were trying to, when Brian contacted Bill Maloney to see if he could do anything to help him out, like filming or anything like that, that was like a target of opportunity. Yeah, so he came along and they thought, right, we can use him, and what we can do is we'll put him on Celebrity Big Brother, right? Offer to give him 500 grand to go on, and then when he goes on, he'll start talking about these like bullshit paedophile claims that have been made up, and as it's like a way of poisoning the well. So then all of these actual genuine paedophile cases will just be like discredited, and people will just get sick of hearing it. And because he's like being painted in the public eye as like the most stupid person who's ever walked the earth, which is absolutely not true. But you know, like I thought he must be a stupid, because I couldn't believe they'd be having all these newspaper stories and stuff about him. Absolutely wrong. I was completely wrong. He's got very high IQ. He's very bright, and yeah, he's got bad dress sense, I suppose. But like, this is one of the things that hasn't helped him. But because you know, people think, well, he dresses like a complete monk, even though everyone thinks he's funny. It's just like, but yeah. Anyway, so that's basically the deal there. He's been targeted by Ian Puddick, right? And what Ian Puddick does is Puddick harasses people. And in one case, there's this guy called Simon Tomlin, and he says he got him sent to prison. Other people have said he did get him sent to prison. So what he does is he'll go and do some loads and loads of harassment crime, harass the person's family, any old relatives he'll go and visit, just to sort of freak them out, try and ostracise them from their family, and then what he'll do is then they'll do something like, you know, like say something about him, and the next thing they're done for like malicious communications. It's a complete corruption, right? And Puddick is all the time making out that he had this Twitter trial and he's been picked off. Now Puddick is a Jew, right? Now I'm not saying that all Jews are evil or anything, but Puddick doesn't even really seem evil, but he is bad. Do you know what I mean? I don't think he's evil. He does lots of evil things. I don't think he's a thoroughly evil person, but he seems to like get some kind of perverted kick. Well, I mean, he is a pervert and he's a sodomite. We know he's got done numerous times for sodomy in public places, and you know, bathhouses and toilets and stuff like that. That is the case. But yeah, so he's not. His mental function isn't like a normal person's at all. But at the same time, he has got all of these pedo connections, like virtually every famous paedophile Jew, Puddick knows in the country. It's quite incredible. So, like, you know, like, he's in the Plumbers Guild, but he's not a plumber. But the Plumbers Guild isn't necessarily for people. You don't have to be a plumber to get into it. I think you just have to be nominated. It's a bit like the Freemasons. But Fiona Wolf's in there, and I think, you know, like, he knows all of the people who are doing the pedoing, doing the pedo cover-ups. He knows all of these people, yeah? Well, it's all very fucking odd. And yet, he seems to be confident that he can just, you know, he's not like a proper secret agent. He's like your old MI5 types who were all queer, and they would just go hang around pubs bragging about how they're in MI5. They're not spies of the normal spy type. I don't really even know what the function of them is. But you see, with Puddick, he's involved with lots of other fucked up stuff, right? Which involves, like, fake court cases. So, like, you've got this Twitter trial of his, right? They have a picture of this guy who apparently he's been, you know, who's basically brought the case to the police so that then it's been investigated, who worked for Guy Carpenter. Now, the thing is that when they published the picture of this man in the newspaper, that they then retracted that picture. There was like online, you can see, I think it's in the Daily Mail or something. It then says, oh, unfortunately, we published the wrong picture of the wrong man. And I think the guy's called something like David Haynes and something. It doesn't really matter because it's quite possible this guy doesn't even fucking exist, if you ask me. It's a bit like, you know, like, it's a bit like Madeleine McCannish. Why have it's easier just to make the story up than actually to have a little girl, because then you can't manipulate the story how you want. You just got to make the story fit. And if you've got real people who aren't in on it, then, well, it's not going to work, is it? The whole point of the distraction news is distraction news, or, you know, some kind of political agenda. But it seems that with Puddick's Twitter trial, he should have, you know, like, the whole thing's made up. It was held in secret. So it's basically, and it was a Jewish judge. Well, the story is Puddick was represented by Walkin QC. That's what Walkin will tell you, Michael Walkin. But the thing is, you know, it's not even necessary that Walkin went to the trial, because what's the point? Because it's just a fucking sham, yeah? Now, this is a state-sponsored Jewish subversive scam, because the state knows about this. This isn't a mystery that these Jews are changing the law to suit their own fucking malevolent needs. But you see, here's what I found out. In Australia, there's a guy called John Alexander Wakefield. His real name is Alexander John Wakefield, right? And he's a judge in the anti-discrimination court. He's also a homosexual. You see, you seen the thing now? He's not a Jew, as far as I know. I don't think he's a Jew anyway. But what he, and this has been removed from the internet now, but Luke McKee found was that, like with Terry Bean, who is the Obama's gay czar, yeah? Now, I'm not sure if Terry Bean actually abused any young men, right? It wouldn't actually surprise me if he didn't, but he was just playing along with it. And the whole point is, in this Terry Bean case, he'd basically been sodomising like 15-year-olds. This is the story they want you to believe. They're pretending to cover up, but they're not covering it up. They're deliberately letting everybody know about it. And the thing is, he was paying them off and getting away with it. So what that's done is that's creating this kind of like unreal case precedent. And it's a bit like the Stephen Lawrence case. It's absolute. There's nothing that happened in that case, right? I mean, for a fucking start, they tried the case twice, which is unheard of. It's never, ever, 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 ever happened before. And but the first time, if you're old enough to remember it, right, when those young men were walking into the court, right, yeah, rather than shielding them from the sort of baying crowds, they let the crowds attack them. Now, if you're going to court for a murder trial, you don't let mobs attack the people before they go to court, do you? It's just obviously you don't, but they did in that case. So you see, there's a lot that, I mean, I don't even know if fucking Stephen Lawrence even existed. I mean, I think he probably did, but for me, the whole thing was like the biggest miscarriage of justice in the whole world. They decided they were guilty before the case started. They were like announcing it. It's just completely fucking insane. And then they tried it again and just found them guilty. Well, how? And why didn't the police, who let them off allegedly, didn't investigate the first time? Why didn't they go to prison? Do you see what I mean? There's so much bullshit in that case, right, that it's very suspicious. Now, funnily enough, right, this is actually, in some ways, for me, it's linked to Puddick, right, because this is not down to Ian's fault. I've got no link, but with me, I phoned up the Stephen Lawrence Foundation when I had some problem with, and this is why I had an interest in Puddick, because of police corruption, and the police were covering up this serious crime that me and a lot of other people got stung by, right? Yeah, and it's completely obviously a Freemason sort of green light. They've got to do it because the police just will not investigate it, and it's like clear that these people are thieves. And yet the police just let them launder the money, take the money. The police completely involved in it, and it was the City of London police who's the one that you said he had a problem with. So that's where the link comes there. Anyway, I phoned up this Stephen Lawrence charity, right? And I was talking to this man on the other end of the phone. I think he was probably Jewish, but he was definitely a homosexual, right? Again, they're all Jewish homosexuals and paedophiles, aren't they, this lot? Anyway, and I said to him, well, what? You know, like, what have you discovered, you know, like, in your organisation's issues with the police? What have you, you know, like, what have you made any progress? And he goes, oh, no, we don't do anything like that. We just, basically, this is why it's very suspicious. This guy was just a complete fucking whinging ninny of the most highest order. And he just goes, no, we just raise public awareness of it, sort of thing, of racism. You know, they don't actually do anything to have anything happen. It's just like, they just almost... Possibly they even mop up people who've got genuine gripes with the police, and they'll phone them. But they didn't appear to be doing that. They didn't like take my details and seem to be passing it on and, you know, put you on some kind of watch list. But you know, like the way they've made Stephen Lawrence's mum a baroness, right? Again, why? I mean, all she used to do is just moan on the TV every day. I mean, she was absolutely depressing. I think everybody you've ever seen on the telly fucking hates her. She's a really, 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 really depressing woman, isn't she? And so, yeah, I don't really get exactly what the agenda is there, but there's definitely something going on. And, you know, getting rid of double jeopardy is one thing. Convincing everybody that, you know, that black people are some kind of threat from white people just to create racial division. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, that would be a Jewish agenda, wouldn't it? And then there's Joseph Kalergi, you know, the Kalergi plan. Again, you know, like, a lot of people, if they feel sorry for black people, right, if they're a woman, they'll be more likely to go out with a black person because this sort of like, they feel guilty, so they think, well, how can I sort of fix it? Oh, well, I'm not racist, so therefore I'll go out with one. So you see what I mean? It's like, look, there's nothing wrong with race mixing, right? But there's race mixing, and then there's like mass race mixing, which is what Kalergi plan's about, to just mean that there won't be any races anymore. It'll just be a load of beige people and Jews will be the boss. And Jews will be the only white ones as well. Because if you live in different countries, right, you've discovered that white people actually aren't white supremacists. The people who are white supremacists are various shades of brown people, because in most places, right, like India and Asia, I don't know so much about Africa, but in Africa, they obviously think you're rich if you're white, you know, they think you're a boss or something, you know, they don't think you're like they know you're not a peasant if you're white, yeah? Now, I suppose that's changing in places like South Africa and maybe Zimbabwe now, because they're genociding the whites openly now, aren't they? But, and, you know, they're not allowed to go back to Europe because they're not actually considered to be Europeans, which is absolutely fucking diabolical. So they're letting all these brown people in from the third world, and they're not letting the white people back who are actually from here. Absolutely diabolical. But anyway, the issue is that there's a race mixing agenda with the Stephen Lawrence one, and you know, double jeopardy. So, you know, as a kind of like public opinion changing event, you know, it's a major one. And for anyone who's listening in America or Australia, it's a bit like the O.J. Simpson case, you know. I don't think anyone got murdered. I think the whole thing's just completely fucking made up. Do you know what I mean? I don't think O.J. Simpson ever went to prison either. I think it's quite clearly made up, right? And, you know, like all the things like the date, there's a lot of Freemasonic dates in there. Like, you know, like, I think he went to prison, didn't he get 33 years in prison? And, you know, like the numerology on his name is, there's a lot, I can't really remember the details, but it's shit, clearly a made up story. To just suck in all the public attention for something that's completely pointless. But the point is, it actually does serve some kind of purpose going forward. And of course, you've got all these blacks going, oh well, if you're black, you've got to say that you didn't do it, and if you're white, you'll probably think, if you're racist, you'll say you did do it. It's like, it's complete and utter bullshit, right? It's complete bullshit. And the idea that you could, but the Stephen Lawrence one, there's this very big thing where they're going, yes, it was definitely a racially motivated attack. Well, how the fuck do they know? Do you know what I mean? How does anybody know? If somebody has a fight and someone gets stabbed, if that's what happened, right? If it's what happened, well, how can you say it's because you're racist? It's just fucking stupid. No, it's murder, or it's manslaughter, or it's, you know, assault. It's not all racially motivated. So you see, what they're doing is again, it's this kind of absolutely fucking people's heads up. So they're more concerned, right, about being racist than someone being murdered. This is how stupid they are, right? It doesn't matter if I happen to be racist, yeah? That doesn't actually do anybody any harm, does it? It doesn't actually do anything. It's like if, you know, if a tree falls over in the woods, did it hurt anybody? Oh, sorry, did it make a sound? It's the same kind of thing. It's like, well, if you had a load of people completely paranoid waiting around in the woods listening out for trees falling over, it'd probably be a big event for them. But, you know, like, it's actually not a big event. It's a nothingness event, yeah? But anyway, this is where it's going back to Puddick now, right? Puddick is very close to this Greville Jenner. Like, there's a lot of people constantly telling me, you know, he knows this person who knows that person. You know, he knows Fiona Woolf. You know, someone was telling me he'd even been in court in the City of London in some kind of secret hearing. And that, I think Fiona, what do you call it? Britton, you know, Leon Britton's wife, I think it's Fiona Britton or something. And I think he's had other dealings with this Wolf before. That's what I'm led to believe, but I'm not sure about that. But the issue is that when he goes to these court cases, right? And sorry, when he does this, stalking and harassment, yeah, like where he goes around and gets people's addresses and goes around their parents' house and phones their parents up, or gets his little fucking sidekicks, that cunt Daniel Laverity, to phone. She phoned up my house. Now, how did she get my phone number? My dad was a social worker, right? So we've been ex-directory always, yeah? You know, because he just doesn't want people, you know, you get a lot of problems if you're not ex-directory, if you're a social worker, especially if you live in the area where you know, where you see people. So, like a policeman or something, you're going to be ex-directory, aren't you? So he goes around, starts bragging that he's got the details of a journalist friend of his. And what he's doing there is he's probably testing them to see if they immediately go, well, that's illegal or something, just to see how stupid they are. But the thing is that instead of my mum and dad telling him to fuck off, right, what they did is they let him in the house and they talked to him for hours and hours, right? And he said, this is at that time, he said that I'd said he was a paedophile and I've published it all over the internet. Well, of course I haven't said that. And of course it isn't, I would never write something like, say someone's a paedophile unless I knew they were a paedophile. No matter how many paedophiles they hang around with, the fact that virtually everybody Puddick hangs around with is a Jewish paedophile or fucking involved with covering up Jewish paedophile activity, you know, doesn't mean I'd say he's a paedophile. But anyway, my parents spent like the next 2 days scouring the internet to see if they could prove that I had actually said that, right? And you see, so what happens is, like, my parents have got very low morals, right? They're very, very, very low morals. They're low moral people. They're very unpleasant people, right? But you see, and they love getting down on anybody who's doing anything good, because it's almost like they're kind of jealous. Do you know what it's like? These kind of people who are like quite evil. They're jealous of anybody who is doing something good, or they're not necessarily jealous. They're actually very anti it. And I think it's got something to do with confidence, but I think then over the years it develops into like kind of just like evil, malevolent dislike of anyone good. That's what it actually comes out to be. Like, because for instance, they were saying, oh, my dad was saying about, say, maybe 6 years ago or something. He was saying, oh, your granddad was an alcoholic when he died, wasn't he? And you're just like, no, he wasn't. It's just fucking lies, right? They're that type of people. I know a lot. I'm not. This isn't to be about them, but this is. They have incredibly low morals. So they spent the next 2 days trying to prove what Puddick couldn't prove. You know, he had a smartphone with him, so he could have just shown them what I'd allegedly said. But you see, I don't know whether he was actually testing them to see if they're that kind of really, really immoral people. Because if you think about it, if you're stalking, say, 20 or 30 people, I'd say 1 in every 6 or something of them is going to have parents who, you know, they secretly, they don't like their children. You know, they slag their children off all the time. And they're constantly wanting their children to do badly because it makes them look less like a loser. So that could, if you think about it statistically, it's probably worth doing it, because you're either going to piss the parents off. In some cases, the parents will freak out and they'll start blaming their children for it. Now, of course, my mum and dad obviously blame everything on me. So they're obviously going to start having a go at me about it, saying they're ashamed of me and all this stuff because I've stopped the paedophile cover-up, largely stopped the paedophile cover-up in the country. Obviously, that makes me bad, and I should mind my own business and leave it to the police. And then they've got, like, one of my aunties from America. She comes over to England in the summer. And this year, she came over, and she came to visit us, and she was in our house with one of my other aunties. And I walked in the room, she goes, "Oh, hello, Tom, how are you doing? Oh, yeah, by the way, you've got a very unhealthy interest in paedophiles." She lives in fucking America. I speak to her on the phone like once a year or something like that. Maybe. Sometimes, you know, more than once a year. But, you know, normally it will be like, it's about that much. So you see, they're clearly talking about it. Oh, my mum and dad will clearly be just banging on about it. Well, my dad, not my dad, my mum. Every time she speaks to any of her relatives, right? So they're all trying to make out I'm a nutter. So you see, that's the thing. So, but it's not that side of it. It's the fact that it doesn't matter what kind of parents, and, you know, if your family are a good family or just pieces of shit like my family, like, well, not my brothers, they're all right, but they, you know, they have to go along with it. They fuel the fire by going round there. But the whole thing is it's like, how would I explain it? This thing with Puddick, this agitation thing he's doing, yeah, that's completely illegal. You know, like, I don't really think there's anything wrong with going around to someone's parents' house if they say, "Owe you some money," or something like that. You go around and say, "Where is he? Like, he owes me some money." But this going around them and just making up complete lies, it's not acceptable, because it's also a very serious thing. Now, another thing we do also know, and I've noticed in the past, all these Jewish subversives, right, they will always say that you're a paedophile, just immediately on the internet. They immediately say it. But I don't know whether that's because they've just been told to do that. Well, I think they have. I think they actually are told to do that. But you see, I think it's a lot of people that will terrify them. If there's somebody online publishing that they're a paedophile with no evidence, they're still terrified of it. You know what I mean? Like, whereas me, if someone said, "Oh, he's a pedo," I'd be like, "What do you mean he's a pedo? What's he being charged? Who told you that?" But most people in the British public are just too stupid, and they're too cowardly. They don't have any concept of morals. It's just believe what everyone else says and pretend to be good rather than actually being good. That's how they are. But like I said, with this issue with Brian Harvey now, Brian Harvey complained to the police about Puddick and him, you know, coaching these witnesses to make up bullshit about paedophile incidents that never happened, that can then be proven to have not happened because the person won't be in the right place at the right time and stuff like that. That whole process that he's been heavily involved with, right? Brian told the police about this, yeah? And he also told them that they're terrorising witnesses and stuff like that. He also did tell them that. And he said that Puddick's been, you know, around his house trying to entrap him into you know, basically he was saying to him, "Do you want any information on anybody, like car registration numbers or phone numbers or addresses?" He said that to him the very first time he spoke to him. He also said something really fucking odd. He said, "Oh, this man's got," he's sort of like a bit semi-hysterical homo rant. He goes, "Oh, this guy called Tom Kyle, he's mental," like, you know, and Brian was letting him speak. He was going, "Oh yeah, he's having a dig at everyone, pretend, you know, playing stupid." But this is going back quite a long way, so we'd never spoken before, me and Brian hadn't. And he says, "Right, yeah, he's having a pop at everyone, isn't he?" And he goes, yeah. He says, "I'm a Jew and I'm a pedo." And he says, "I haven't got a foreskin because I've got an infection." Yes, but that's because of an infection. You can't hear it too well, but he does say it. It's because he's sort of like, he's whimpering, so you can't quite make it out. It's quite quiet if you have to have the speakers turned up. And then he goes, so he's adamant he's not a Jew. He's always saying he isn't a Jew, despite fucking being a Jew. It's just really fucking mad. And then, and then what he does, I think he is actually ashamed of being Jew. He's very scared people know he's a Jew. So I don't know whether it's because he's ashamed of being a Jew or he just doesn't want to get caught and be a Jew. And then all the other Jews will go, you fucking muppet. Why have you got caught doing all that Jewish subversive stuff? You've basically fucked up all of our operations. Yeah, but anyway. And the thing is, he's offered to get these numbers and stuff for Brian the very first time he spoke to him. So Brian knew that this was very suspicious. And then Ian Puddick brought in a thing called a Ninja, which is some kind of amplifier or battery or something that makes it you be allowed to, able to film for longer at a time. So I don't exactly know what it is, but either way, it costs 500 quid. So he's bought Brian one of these things to do this filming, and then he's just going obviously around saying that Brian Harvey's mental and he's basically he's been sectioned and all this shit, which is all complete bullshit. And he's just doing it to upset the guy. That's what he's doing, but it's not really working anymore. But then, when Brian made videos about Puddick, right, and put things on Twitter, the police have got his Twitter taken down. Now, it's not the police's job to get your Twitter taken down, right? So what the fuck's going on there? You can't, it's not something you're allowed, the police, it's not their remit, they're not allowed to do that. And then they've arrested him, stolen all his computer equipment and his cameras and everything, yeah? And they put him on bail and just said he can't have him back, despite the fact he complained about Puddick first, doing fucking pedo cover-ups. I mean, it's just absolutely ludicrously criminal and totally and utterly corrupt, right? And elsewhere in that police service, though, right? Actually, so I'll just stick on this subject right now. The head of the CPS is called Alison Saunders, right? Another confirmed Jewish paedophile mafia member. And she was behind letting off Greville Janner so he could die and then fuck off to Israel or wherever he went to go and abuse more children. So she is an enabler of of child abuse. She's covering, she's working for the Jewish pedo mafia. She clearly is. There's no reason to get about it. But if you look at her Twitter, right, she's not got many tweets, made up 15. Every one of them is like wrong tweeters will be prosecuted, and she's even done something even more odd, right? Because she's got lots of these tweets about like people online going to be, it's going to start being something she's taking very seriously. Then what she said, and she says, depends on how drunk I get, I'll prosecute you or something. But you see, the thing is that might be quite funny, right? But then she's also saying, don't tweet after you're, like over the drink drive limit. That'd be my advice. And then she's saying, but I can prosecute people if I'm drunk, yeah? Absolute piece of shit, man. Complete criminal piece of shit. Now, but the thing is, I think Puddick actually will know her. Now, there's another person I think people might not be aware of, right? Is you've got, do you know in the Metropolitan Police? Now, I don't know too much about City London Police, but I've actually had quite a lot of dealings with them in the past, but I don't know how their structure really works. I know there's fucking loads of people with massively high ranks and not so many people with, like, normal police-ish ranks. You see them walking around the streets sometimes, but if you actually look up the City of London Police, it's a big scam where obviously they're all Masons, and they just give each other these stupid, super-duper high ranks. And they're just all sitting in there on these really fucking high ranks. That's how it works, yeah? It's a bit like Operation Trident. It's just a load of fucking middle-aged Freemasons giving themselves jobs to do absolutely nothing. I've actually talked to someone who's in Operation Trident, and when I said this, he started crying and ran out of the house. So, like, they obviously are very fucking worried about people realising Operation Trident's a complete scam. Again, it's to do with racial division and stuff, but primarily just to give policemen money for nothing, yeah? To just sit around in an office. Because you won't be able to go and see them in that office, yeah? They'll only see who they want to. So as soon as and it'll be like City of London Police, it's like you don't go into a normal police station, you walk where you can, there is a normal police station for the City of London Police, you sort of go in, past like a sort of security, and then you'd go up in the lift with a swipe card or something. So they're not in proper police stations, And you can fit loads of them in there, just tossing it off all day long, and probably looking at child pornography. I think that's what they spend a lot of their time doing. But anyway, so this Saunders, head of the CPS, lets Jewish paedophiles escape and go and abuse more children, right? What else? And she hasn't been sacked. Absolutely incredible. But yeah, in the Met, right, in Scotland Yard, you've got this thing called... you've got something like the deputy head of the Met is, or maybe it's like the third down or something. It's a guy called Craig Mackey. Now, Craig Mackey has got an email address like craig.mackey2@metpolice or something like that, yeah? But it's got a 2 in it. And it's this paedophile. A lot of the videos I did about him got taken down, right? In Australia, and it's even been admitted now in court hearings that Facebook group called Sparkles the Pony, where they were joking about kidnapping and raping children, right? This paedophile ring were on there. That's even been named in the completely corrupt New South Wales Anti-Discrimination Board as a paedophile ring. You know, that's what it's been accepted as. But the thing is, then they were saying Gary's not in it or something. Really fucking crazy. But Gary's the leading gay activist in Australia, on paper, yeah? The gays don't like him because they all know he's a pedo. Everybody knows he's a pedo, but he's a state-protected pedo, right? Now, Puddick's in touch with this guy, right? Puddick also put up a website with a domain, you know, like called tom-carhill.com or something. tom-carhill.com or .co.uk. And it's got a whole load of lies about me. But it's also got some things on there which are like secret information that he couldn't possibly have known. So obviously he's having information shared with him from the Secret Services or something, because it's not stuff that the British police would know. But anyway, and he has been dealing with this Gary Burns in Australia, and he's put like loads of hit pieces about me on. And considering he's a leading gay activist in Australia, or that's what we're, you know, he's the one who's on the TV most. What's happened with him is, right, he had his pinned tweet for like, maybe 9 months. It was something about me, negative about me, slagging me off, right? And I'm thinking, why would the #1 gay activist, even if for some reason they took a real dislike to me, why would they have that as their pinned tweet? It just seems very fucking odd. I mean, the guy is completely hate-driven. He's completely evil. he is evil. I'm not sure if Puddick's evil. Puddick's just bad, yeah? That's all I can ascertain at the minute. And he's a pervert, obviously, because normal people don't go around just spending their whole life stalking people. Do you know what I mean? And also, he hangs around with that fucking Kieran Goggins. Kieran Goggins, who admits being a police informant, admits having child pornography on his computer, which is called his hobby, and he admits raping somebody, yes, raping some woman and terrorising her so she wouldn't go through with the prosecution. So, I mean, normal people do not have anything to do with people like that. That is just completely fucking off the wall. Absolutely 0% chance any normal person. You can't have any semblance of normality to be like that. And also, he knows Peter Tatchell. And Peter Tatchell appears to know him because he tweets him back, and he seems that they've met up and stuff. So you've got an endorser of paedophile. You've got a guy claiming to be a rapist, says, admitting that he likes to look at child pornography, and that he's a police informant. I mean, it's just not normal. That's not normal to want to hang around with that type of person. That is just fucking insane. No non-sicko would do that. So you see what I mean? He is completely sick. But anyway, this Craig Mackey, right? This Gary Burns was threatening me one time, yeah? And he actually threatens quite a lot of people, including the Prime Minister in Australia, the Prime Minister's wife, before he was the Prime Minister. He went and started accosting her in the street and shouting at her, and, you know, I think he even grabbed hold of her. But the thing is, you know, he can get away with anyone, and he's constantly berating MPs and talking about foreskins in fucking emails. He talks about foreskins on the phone as well, which I think is must be, I don't know too many Jews, right? Or I come across them quite a lot, but I don't actually have a whole load of like Jewish friends that I could ask about this. But a lot, it does appear that these Jewish pedos, or these Jews who are like involved with all this pedo stuff, they do seem to be fucking fixated with foreskins. They can't stop mentioning them. It's like an involuntary action. They're not really, I don't think they can really help doing it. And it's probably something to do with their foreskins being bitten off, isn't it? I think it's just completely fucks their head up. I think that's probably what it is, yeah? Anyway, but he was writing an email to Craig Mackey telling him to arrest me. Now, how the fuck has some paedophile in Australia got the number of, sorry, not the number, the email, which is an obscure email address, like I said, of one of the deputy chiefs of the police? And this Craig Mackey, I know how he got it, because Catherine Byrne, without an S, yeah? I've got her email, by the way, because Gary's also threatened me with her. He has got like an open door policy with all of the police. And this is the same. Now, Craig Mackey's not as obvious, but in England, Craig Mackey is the one who always liaises with Sean Wynnum. Sean Wynnum is like the new race-specific Jewish police, because, of course, there is no sort of agenda to get a two-tier sort of legal system in place, or it wouldn't already be in already, would it? Yeah, but it fucking well is. And yeah, and he also deals with all the LGBTI stuff. Yeah, intergenerational. Yes, that's what I stands for on LGBT. The plus is for bestiality, isn't it? That's what they want to. Bestiality, Satanism, child sacrifice. That's what they're trying to bring in. They're trying to make it normal. But one of the reasons that people think, well, what the fuck's that got to do with anything? Well, the whole point is, in the Soviet Union, they had what was called the Jewish Soviet Autonomous Oblast, right? And that had a flag with a lion and then like a rainbow across the top and a rainbow across the bottom. Now, that is why there was actually, I think, more than one variant of the flag, but it all has this pretend rainbow on it. So when you're sticking the Sodomy Olympics flag over the police station, right, people think, oh, it's for gays. It's got nothing to do with gays. Well, it is to do with gays and perversion. Yes, it is. But the primary reason for it isn't that. Yes, they want to legalise paedophilia. They 100%, they clearly do. But it's because it's announcing that the Jews are in control of this place, and it's like special rules for Jews. And that's what they're bringing in. Now, another thing that Puddick was up to, right, I heard, and I believe he was up to, right, is he had this plumbing company, as you'll probably all be aware. And when he was going, he had these people on call-outs, he told them, and I have this on good authority, he told them to put some kind of little mark on every, I think it was like on the, like, you know, the little things used with a stylus. So you've got like forms, but you've got like a little sort of like mobile phone that kind of, you can put reports on this little box, and then, you know, it saves it all on the computer system. And they had to make some kind of mark if there was a Jewish customer, you know, because if they had these little Jewish little scroll things, little metal scrolls nailed to the side of the door. And it appears that Puddick was actually, he's got lots of links in the Sean Wynnum, and he was being told not to mention the Sean Wynnum and not to mention that he's had anything to do with them. That's what I'm very, again, somebody's told me this, and I'm sure he has. Apparently, he even paid to get the cars wrapped. And, you know, considering he's got, I mean, maybe he's even got a business that does that wrapping, I don't know. Because, you know, like, that was one of the things of his plumbing business. He had quite, like, expensively looking vans. You know, they obviously spent a bit of money on those, wrapping those cars. The ones where it makes it look like you're sitting on the toilet, because there'll be a toilet and then your head will come up and, you know, you'll be driving and it will look like you're on the toilet. But anyway, the point is, I think what he's trying to do, I think it's like anti-Jewish terrorism. Because you know the way the plot Jews do is they always like stir up anti-Jewish sentiment whenever they want some big political change to happen, because then all the little Jews all like gather around and sort of all club together and they get really paranoid. And whereas there's not that many Jews in the population, it's like a solid block of people who, you know, like, they're a minority, but they're not, and they're quite a small minority. But the point is they've got quite a lot of clout. And if they're absolutely terrified that everyone's going to kill them or something, you can get that block of people completely petrified very, very easily and then manipulate them. So that higher up Jews always do this. This is a centuries old or millennia old tactic, terrorizing the Jews to get the little Jews to all sort of like herd together, and then you can get political change. It's like a lever on the boat, you know, like on the back you've got like a little lever pushes the big rudder. Yeah, that's how it works. You only need a very small one, and then that can push the big one. But you try to push the big one on its, you know, like on its own, you need a massive great big lever. It's a lot more complicated to do it that way. So what I think Puddick's up to at the minute is, well, he's got caught. I mean, basically he's been caught with his pants down with all this stuff about the paedophile cover-ups. He has been caught, yeah. So that's not something you can sort of let have undone. All his little minions have all fucked off. Like, well, Bill Maloney, I think that's just because Bill Maloney literally will get his head fucking kicked in because he's upset so many people, like doing things like sticking the stillborn baby, the video of the stillborn baby where he secretly recorded it in the delivery room, you know, like stuff like that, and then, you know, using it to blackmail people, like extort money out of these disabled couples. Absolute complete filth, the guys, right? But again, I don't know where Puddick stands on that. I don't know if he said, "What, you've gone a bit too far there, mate. You've gone too far." But Puddick's never actually said or done anything about it, so I don't know what Puddick's position on that is. He might have told him to do it. He might have told him to do it. I don't know. But then again, I have no idea. But the issue is that he's disappeared now. But there's another thing: is Michael Dougherty has disappeared, right? And the reason Michael Dougherty appears to have disappeared, despite the fact he had these bullshit court actions going on for issues that I don't even think happened, yeah. So there, and I went to the court once with him because you know, and I just nothing made any sense. Like for a start, if he went in to see the judge, with this black man went in with him to like take these notes. I don't know who the black man was. I think I'd seen him once before at some kind of UK column event or something. But anyway, he went in. They went into the court, the actual courtroom with the judge, and there was no actual case on the board. And also, when they went in, you didn't get to hear what they're saying. And then when people are going, it's £3 million on land and he's going to put on a commercial lien, where the fuck they thought that they're all believing that's what he's doing. But that wasn't even what he was meant to be there for. But that's what the UK columners all thought, because they'd just been told by Brian Gerrish. But anyway, what I've realised is this bullshit court cases, right? They should have come to some kind of conclusion, all of these court cases this Dougherty was involved with. But none of them did, yeah? And the reason is because he's worked out, because he's quite a clever guy, Michael Dougherty is. He's a lot more intelligent than Puddick. And he's actually, well, some people say he's a real big-head and he's really arrogant. Well, what I often find is big-headed, arrogant people are more big-headed and arrogant when they're around people who they think they're better than. If they come across somebody who's like better looking, more intelligent, more confident, they're not arrogant, yeah? They actually can be okay. So I didn't notice him being arrogant. But other people, I think, yeah, I've seen him on interviews and stuff, and he does obviously have a very big head, but he was never arrogant to me, and I spoke to him on the phone lots of times, and he told me lots of stuff that I didn't notice. You know, I definitely didn't have an axe to go on Michael Dougherty. I liked Michael Dougherty. The first time I met him, I think he thought I was one of the agents as well, because the first time he met me, he said, "Why don't you just do this full time?" And I'm, "What do you mean, do what full time?" It was really weird. So that's what he meant. He obviously thought I was like a little secret agent as well. But yeah, what's happened is, like I said, you've got Terry Bean in the Obama's gazer. That's what he was calling himself, and shagging or bumming 15-year-old boys, right, and paying them off. Now, as I said, I'm not even sure if that story's true, but that's the official story, yeah? And what it is, I think it's because a lot of people think, oh, fuck off, send someone to prison for bumming a 15-year-old if they've been taking money off them. Do you know what I mean? It's like the 15-year-old knows what they're doing. Just don't fucking waste my time with that. Especially not if it's happened years ago. Just do not waste my time with it. Which that's pretty much how I see it. But the thing is, what's suspicious about it is all of these young men appeared to be 15. So that's why the story's suspicious, because, you know, if you're like I know shagging a 15-year-old doesn't make you a pedo, but it does make you a child sex offender sort of thing, yeah. But the point is that why would they all be 15? It's like literally on the cusp, so it's only just illegal. So that then people, you know, like, it's to sort of normalise it, you know? And, of course, the same kind of people who want to shag a 15-year-old don't necessarily want to shag a fucking 10-year-old, do they? A lot of people will shag a 15-year-old and not think there's anything wrong with it, but they're not going to shag a 7-year-old or a 6-year-old. It's not actually a sliding scale. Now, I think there are people who are just perverts, and they actually get off on the fact that the person's vulnerable and underage or overage, but not really. They shouldn't really be having sex with them because they're a bit immature. There is an element of that. But you see, the whole point of that is to get case precedent that you can basically get away with it if you pay someone off. But the state in America, the judge can still choose to prosecute you if they want, but it's sort of their discretion. Right, now this Alexander John Wakefield, right, in Australia, the homosexual one, who's on the anti-discrimination board, what he's done, right, which is fucking weird, is he's taken all this stuff down off the internet now. But along with this guy called David Shoebridge, who's a Greens MP down there, a complete sickening individual, piece of shit, right? He's got a picture on his Twitter profile of him just sitting next to a black man. It's just so obvious. He's just gone, oh, I need a nigger to sit next to. This is the kind of, he's a complete piece of shit, right? And he's fucking mad on paedophile normalisation. And also, he was turning up at court cases, yeah, against a disabled guy who should be protected by the Anti-Discrimination Board, but in fact being persecuted for them because way back when he decided that, well, he knew about like sociology and stuff like that because he had he was a taxi driver, but he'd been hit on the head when he was younger and he got this big payout. So he sort of needed someone to look after him, sort of thing. And they made him lose his taxi driver's license. Clover Moore, the lesbian Sydney mayor, just took his taxi driver's license off him. Completely illegal. Said he's not a fit and proper person because when he got this degree that he got when he first hurt himself, he'd done a lot of this studying into, you know, various social dynamics and stuff, you know, sociology. And he went to this Mardi Gras and he basically discovered from all these abused kids who he'd come in contact with, because he was doing something, I don't exactly know how he came in contact with them, but basically he found that the Mardi Gras was being used for trafficking children, and, you know, there was a lot of drugging children, and the homosexuals and the paedophiles were like having their way with lots of children every year at it. And because he said something about that, they took his taxi driver's license. They're constantly trying to send him to prison. There's been more than 100 court cases against him in the Anti-Discrimination Board. There's been more cases against John Sunol in the Anti-Discrimination Board than all of the cases against every other single person who's had a case in there. It's an absolute fucking joke, right? And of course, we know who's behind it: Jewish paedophiles and homosexuals. They're Jewish subversives, but they're all perverts. But anyway, back to Alexander John Wakefield. Alexander John Wakefield's a very, very smooth customer. You see him talk and hear him talk. I've spoken to him in the past. He did lose his rag when me and Luke McKee called him up. He definitely did then, because what Luke had discovered, Luke had somehow managed to find out what his number was of his house, and he'd phoned up his boyfriend, and he'd been talking to his boyfriend earlier on that day, and he asked this Alexander John Wakefield, he says, well, if you're sitting on these cases about, you know, like homosexual rights and people vilifying homosexuals, well, you're biased if you're a homosexual, aren't you? And he goes, are you a homosexual? And this guy goes, oh, well, I don't think it's appropriate to say. He's very, very smooth, this guy's very, very posh voice, but Australian, but like speaks really nicely. And he goes, well, your boyfriend, I was speaking to your boyfriend earlier, so you definitely are, aren't you? And there wasn't a sound, but the energy you could feel on the other end of the phone. It was just like, I don't know, it's hard to describe. The energy, you could just feel, it was like a lead weight dropped in his heart, and you could actually feel it on the other side of the phone. It's really quite incredible. But anyway, what he's doing is he's advocating having child abuse cases and all sex crimes, I think mainly just all sex crimes possibly, but definitely pedo ones, in two-way secrecy tribunals where you'll get money, right? You'll get money for the court case, right? If you know, so no one goes to prison, and yeah, of course, you go to prison if you talk about it. So you could get raped by somebody, talk about it, and you go to prison, which is exactly what Jew Jack Straw brought in England, didn't he? Because he said it's protecting the children, but so protecting their own anonymity, yeah. So it's just like a license to cover absolutely anything up, because you're not allowed to talk to people about it, and you'll go to prison if you do. So any pedo cover-up, it's just like mandatory, you know, it's just a license to cover it up. But this is where it gets really fucked up, right? Guy Carpenter's the biggest reinsurance company in the world, or at least Puddick says. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. It's not really important. The point is the insurance industry is always trying to find new markets, right? Now, Alexander John Wakefield So this is not in England, but it's the same fucking agenda going everywhere. It's a Jewish pedo mafia agenda. Is he was saying that when parents send their children to, say, Cub Scouts, they should have to pay extra money each time to cover the insurance premium, yeah, in case their kids get fucking sexually abused or someone else's kids get sexually abused and they need to pay out. So they're inventing a whole new aspect of insurance, right? Yeah, it appears. And you know Michael Dougherty, he was in the same building, his bullshit fucking limited company that he made out as a charity that he alleges he got £4 million paid into his bank account of. But he's never filed any accounts and it's dissolved now. Just like Bill Maloney had two companies called Pie and Match and one called Pie and Match Films. But they were both set up on the same day and no accounts filed. So that's obviously where he was laundering his money through as well. You know, because I think he was getting... I don't think it's really charitable, no donations. People aren't giving him money like that. It's just an excuse for other people to pay him money. Because a lot of these disinformation people give you the impression they're a con man. That's the limited hangout position. But they're not actually conning anyone of any money. Because most of the people who are really interested in the alternative media, they don't give people money very often. They might give them £1 a month or something. But you know what I mean? There's not hundreds of people giving them £1 a month. So it's impossible to live off that income. And I mean, even David Icke's People's Voice scam, right? If you think about it, David Icke is quite a big name. Well, he's fucking the biggest name possibly, apart from Alex Jones, maybe. I mean, Alex Jones completely discredited now, so how much worth he's got now is very questionable. But the thing with him is it's like he didn't actually get off with that much money. I don't even think they got off with £1 million. So if you think of the amount of people who did genuinely give to that only summed up to £1 million. And that was a major effort to get that money. So it's not, how do I say? It's a limited hangout position. What happens is probably Dougherty gets this bank account and then someone will pay him through some kind of shell company, the intelligence services or the Jews or the insurance industry will pay him. But definitely, this is why he just dropped all his cases. He dropped all these cases he was doing, which, you know, may have been bogus, but why would they stop? Do you know what I mean? If you're a secret agent halfway through a mission, then all of a sudden you stop. It's probably because he's worked out that if people work out he's trying to generate a new wing of insurance, you know, where Jews can benefit from being pedos and pay money out to pedos and get victims of pedos sent to prison for reporting that they've been abusive pedos. That's probably what's happened. But you see, this is the key to what Puddick is doing. Yeah, he's doing other stuff like getting onto Brian Harvey, but then again, that was because he wanted them to publish this bullshit story, which was, again, to cover up for Jewish pedo mafia activity. But this is the big thing that Puddick is doing. He is definitely doing it because his court case against this guy who allegedly worked for Guy Carpenter, right? There's absolutely no way that's genuine. It's complete bullshit, right? And why would they be doing that? It's because it gives him cover, but it also reintroduces case precedent saying that you can get fucking up on charges for saying something that Jews don't like on Twitter. Do you see what I'm trying to say? Now, this Alison Saunders complete fucking joker woman, absolute disgrace, should be fucking strung up or something. She's absolute disgrace. I think a public official who's as corrupt as her at such a high position, you know, they should fucking, or lock them up forever or something. They should be severely dealt with. But she's making a joke of the English legal system by saying she'll prosecute people if she's drunk. But you mustn't use Twitter if you're drunk. It's typical. I'm a Jew, I can do it. You're not a Jew, so you can't do it or you'll go to prison. It's just an absolute fucking two-tier legal system with the Noahide laws. That's what it is. But yeah, anyway, the issue is that I think she probably knows Puddick. Puddick probably knows her. And for a start off, because of all these decisions going through the fucking CPS, the Crown Prosecution Service, right? If it's an important, like, landmark type case, the person at the top of the CPS will be involved with it because they can hardly have it going through one way and then not knowing about it, because then, like, what about if there's another little lesser manager, right, gets it, they could be making completely different decisions. So, you know, like if it's a new thing to do with a new strand of law, and you've got to remember the McAlpine issue with that Sally Bercow doing what McAlpine called himself the false accusation, where you make a demonstrably false accusation against yourself, or you basically, in her case, it was pretty much the same, but slightly different. What you do is you don't actually say anything bad about him, and then you apologise, and then you award him, I don't even know if he actually got any money, but you know, the idea of the BBC paid him fucking hundreds and hundreds of grand. That just scares the shit out of everybody. So they think, fucking hell, if I name someone for being a pedo, I'm going to have to fucking lose my house. Do you see what I mean? That's what they're doing. That is what they're doing. So it's really, really fucking malevolent and evil what they're doing. But again, the thing with the insurance is the sort of the concrete thing that's happening. Now, I know paedophile normalisation is happening. I know it is. But the point is, they are aiming to like actually have a whole new strand of insurance, which is all for paying victims of pedos. But as we know, because it's Jews who do most of the pedoing, they'll be working some way out where they'll get the money. And because there's a two-way gagging order on it, yeah? And you've got that barrister, you know, that lady barrister, she looks really evil, looks a bit like a saint. She had blonde hair like a sort of a bob. And she was on the telly a while ago going, oh, well, you know, children often seduce men. And she wasn't talking about fucking 15-year-olds. She was talking about, like, 13 and 12 and stuff. And it's like, 12 and 13-year-olds, if they're fucking mentally deranged and they want to start going out with a fucking 60-year-old, I mean, this is just completely fucking sick, isn't it? Yeah, it's clearly sick. And, of course, culturally as well, it's sick because it's different. You know, like, if you're in a country where people don't really pair off with people who are massively different ages, do they? You know, it's not normal in our culture. It's not like it's normal for like 50-year-old men to marry 20-year-olds. I mean, they're always odd, aren't they? When that happens, there's always something. But I don't mean to slag somebody off for no reason, but you know, like, I mean, they could do whatever they want. But you know, like in my experience, if you ever see an old guy with a young woman, there's always something fucking wrong if they're from England. In other countries, it's sort of seen as normal, so it's different. You know, and it is culturally different, things like this. But in France, there was somebody recently, someone had sex with a fucking 12-year-old or something, and they said, oh, well, it's not, no, was it 11-year-old or something? And they said it's not rape because they consented. So they've already got an age of consent of 12. And, I mean, obviously we're not out of Brexit, we're not out of Europe now. But they just keep saying we are, but we're not. But if we do go out, if we stay in Europe, that's what will happen in England. They'll be just lowering the age of consent, and it won't be for adolescents. It won't be so you could shag a 15-year-old or a 14-year-old or a 13-year-old who looks like a 25-year-old. It won't be for that. It's for fucking little kids. That's what it's for. And like I've done in my, I think it's my best ever YouTube video, Kinsey's Book of Spells, and it's about how paedophile normalisation was being used as a cover for Satanism. And his book with the time taken to give children orgasms, which he was calling, defined orgasm as like uncontrollably shaking, screaming, crying and not stopping, and, you know, having spasms and stuff. And then it would say time to orgasm. It's quite clearly that that's some kind of linked, you know, so you can have star charts and stuff, so you can use it and you can have like times to kill the kid, you know, like you get them to this state of like just being completely fucked, and then you kill them. That's clearly what it's for. So you see, with a lot of these things, the actual really bad thing that's actually happening is even worse than what you think. So it's not just legalising sex with fucking adolescents, so people can like go and start fucking renting out fucking, you know, homeless and orphans, you know, and like basically they've got pubes and that. It's to actually rape little kids and use them in satanic ceremonies and stuff like that and let it be legal. And if you talk about it, you can get massively financially penalised. And that's happening in Australia. That's why I know all about John Wakefield and Gary Burns and stuff. So it's not like, how would I say? I do know what I'm talking about. But that's what Puddick's big fucking crime is he's reinvented a strand of insurance so that if you... So, you know, like, so there's going to be a massive amount of money being extra paid into the insurance industry to cover all these abuse cases. But it's going to then be used to push it underground, because it'll be this secrecy, it'll be completely secret. And they'll be sending people to prison for talking about their own abuse. And if you said, yeah, that guy's a pedo, don't let him go near your kids, you could go to prison. It's absolutely fucking evil. That's what they're doing. I know a lot of people will find this hard to believe. But anyway, my name's Tom Carhill, and it's Wednesday the 17th of January 2018. Thank you for watching.